Hashtag they thought humans were slow until they measured our reaction time. The Galactic Concordat prided itself on precision. As a vast alliance of advanced species spanning 17 sectors, its technological and biological achievements were the result of millions of years of combined evolution and innovation. Among its most esteemed members were the Cthar, insectoid beings with neural processing speeds measured in nanoseconds, and the Volantai, energy-based entities whose existence was so intertwined with prediction algorithms that they experienced the present and future simultaneously. Then there were humans, the newest members of the Concordat. Humans had stumbled onto the galactic stage through what many considered a crude form of FTL technology, a brute force approach that older species had abandoned eons ago in favor of more elegant solutions. Their biological systems were equally unimpressive. Chemical-based neural processing, sluggish sensory inputs, and consciousness that lagged hundreds of milliseconds behind reality. The general consensus among Concordat scientists was that humans were, by most measurable standards, slow. Commander Xyler of the Cthar stood in the observation deck of the Concordat's Central Research Station, his compound eyes reflecting the holographic displays of human physiological data. 6 limbs folded across his chitinous thorax as he watched Lieutenant Anya Sharma complete her standard flight qualification. Her scores were average by Concordat standards, acceptable, but nothing remarkable. Adequate performance, Xyler clicked, mandibles twitching slightly. Though I remain unconvinced of the wisdom in granting humans full operational status in critical missions. Their neural architecture simply cannot compete with established Concordat standards. Floating beside him, Analysis Unit 7, a luminous blue-white manifestation of Volantai consciousness, pulsed in agreement. Human conscious processing demonstrates an 843.7% delay compared to Cthar baseline and a 1,622.3% delay compared to our processing matrix. Their chemical synaptic transmission is fundamentally limiting. The Volanti's voice resonated directly in the minds of those present. A stream of pure information transmitted faster than spoken language could convey. Like all Volantai, Unit 7 existed partially in future probability states, experiencing multiple timelines simultaneously and collapsing them into the most logical outcome. Their light-based neural network processed at speeds that made even the Cthar seem sluggish. The human specimen has completed the course without incident, Unit 7 continued, but my projections indicate a significantly narrower safety margin than would be acceptable for frontline operations. Through the transparent barrier, Lieutenant Anya Sharma climbed out of the simulation pod, brushing a strand of dark hair from her face. Her movements seemed almost lethargic to the observing aliens, deliberate and conscious, lacking the instant precision of Cthar reflexes or the predictive grace of Volantai actions. She glanced up at the observation deck, offering a respectful nod before heading to the debriefing chamber. I still fail to understand why humans were granted membership before completing their neural evolution, Xyler said. Their biological architecture is fundamentally inadequate for the challenges of deep space. Unit 7 pulsed thoughtfully. Their innovation index scores surprisingly high despite their processing limitations. They approach problems with unconventional methodologies, inefficiency masquerading as innovation, Xyler dismissed. Their spacecraft still rely on manual overrides. Manual, as if conscious thought could respond faster than automated systems. Yet something curious had been happening across various Concordat operations since humans had joined their ranks. Minor accidents that the Volantai predicted with near certainty sometimes failed to materialize when humans were present. Equipment failures that should have cascaded were mysteriously averted. These anomalies were dismissed as statistical outliers, coincidences, or the result of humans' notorious overcaution, a compensation for their slow reaction times, most assumed. 6 standard cycles later, an opportunity arose that would put these assumptions to the test. A newly discovered spatial anomaly in the Cygnus arm required a diverse research team. The strange fluctuations in space-time demanded careful study, and the mission profile called for representatives from multiple species. Lieutenant Anya Sharma was assigned as the human component. During the mission briefing, Zyler made his concerns explicit. "I must register a formal observation." He clicked, mandibles flaring with annoyance. The unpredictable nature of this anomaly may require split-second responses. Lieutenant Sharma's human reaction times create an unnecessary vulnerability in the team composition. The mission coordinator, a senior Volantai administrator, pulsed dismissively. "Your concerns are noted, Commander. However, the mission requires the unique problem-solving algorithms that humans have demonstrated. Lieutenant Sharma's credentials meet our parameters." Sharma sat quietly during this exchange, her face betraying no emotion at being discussed, as though she were a faulty component. This stoicism, too, was interpreted by most Concordat members as yet another sign of humans' slow processing. They even took longer to generate emotional responses. They couldn't have been more wrong. The research station orbiting the spatial anomaly was a marvel of Concordat engineering. A gleaming construction of crystalline alloys and energy fields that maintained perfect stability despite the distortions rippling through space-time around it. Inside, the environment was carefully calibrated to accommodate the biological and energy-based requirements of all crew members. For Lieutenant Anya Sharma, daily life on the station meant constant adaptation. The Kthar moved with blistering speed, their segmented limbs a blur as they navigated through spaces, their compound eyes processing visual information at rates that made human vision seem like slow-motion photography. The Volantai existed partly out of phase with conventional reality, their energy forms shimmering as they anticipated events microseconds before they occurred. Sharma's work routine was precise and methodical, compensating for what her colleagues perceived as inherent limitations. She took detailed notes, double-checked her calculations, and maintained a level of focus that impressed even the most skeptical observers. Yet to the Kthar and Volantai, she always seemed to be operating at a delay, perpetually catching up to a reality that they experienced instantaneously. Small incidents began to accumulate in the station's logs. A drop tool caught by Sharma before it could damage sensitive equipment. A course correction made to their orbiting station moments before automated systems detected a problem. A hand pulled back from a panel just before a power surge. Each incident was recorded but assigned minimal significance, reflexive actions too minor to warrant deeper analysis. Analysis Unit 7, however, was designed to recognize patterns that others might miss. As the Volantai processed the station's operational data, anomalies began to emerge, subtle inconsistencies between predicted outcomes and actual events when humans were involved. Unit 7's consciousness extended through the station's systems, examining footage at the microtemporal level, breaking down movements frame by frame. What the Volantai discovered defied conventional Concordat understanding. In one recording, Sharma's hand moved away from a panel 15 milliseconds before a power surge occurred. But more significantly, 3 milliseconds before any detectable change in the system that might have warned her. In another, her body began to shift its balance to compensate for a minor gravitational fluctuation that the station's sensors only registered afterward. Most intriguing to Unit 7 was that Sharma herself never reported these actions. When questioned about the incidents, she would typically respond with confusion or attribute her actions to standard safety protocols. It was as though her conscious mind remained unaware of the rapid responses her body was executing. Request permission to conduct specialized neural mapping. Unit 7 transmitted to the station's scientific director. I have identified data inconsistencies that warrant further investigation. The permission granted, Unit 7 began designing a testing protocol unlike any previously applied to humans. Standard Concordat tests focused on conscious reaction time, the interval between a stimulus and an acknowledged response. Unit 7's new protocol would instead monitor pre-conscious neural activity, measuring the earliest physiological responses before conscious awareness emerged. Lieutenant Sharma, Your presence is requested for a routine biometric calibration. The message on Sharma's terminal read. Nothing in the wording suggested anything beyond standard procedure. When she arrived at the testing chamber, Sharma found Commander Zyler waiting alongside Unit 7. The Kthar's posture conveyed skepticism, his compound eyes fixed on the human with scientific detachment. This is a non-standard procedure, Unit 7 explained, energy form pulsing with barely contained curiosity. We are calibrating sensors to better accommodate human physiology on future missions. The process requires minimal conscious participation. Sharma nodded, settling into the designated chamber. Just tell me what you need me to do. Nothing, Unit 7 replied. Your conscious engagement would actually interfere with our measurements. Please attempt to maintain neutral awareness while we proceed. The chamber activated, surrounding Sharma with fields of subtle energy. Unlike conventional tests, this one was designed to deliver microstimuli, changes in lighting below the threshold of conscious perception, minute shifts in air pressure, electromagnetic variations too subtle to register consciously. These stimuli were precisely timed and measured, while deep scanning fields monitored her neural and physiological responses at the sub-millisecond level. What happened next would change the Concordat's understanding of humanity forever. The first stimulus, a subliminal flicker of light at the far periphery of vision, triggered a cascade of neural activity in Sharma's visual cortex. But critically, this wasn't confined to standard processing pathways. Her peripheral nervous system activated 0.02 milliseconds after the stimulus, well before conscious processing could possibly begin. Muscle tension adjustments initiated 0.05 milliseconds later, preemptive responses to something her conscious mind hadn't even registered. More astonishing still, when the test introduced a simulated threat stimulus, a harmless but unexpected air current designed to mimic an approaching object, Sharma's body responded not just quickly but predictively. Her nervous system initiated evasive action 0.003 milliseconds before the air current fully formed, as though reacting to something that hadn't yet fully happened. Zyler's compound eyes dilated in disbelief. The sensors must be malfunctioning. He clicked, mandibles twitching rapidly. Biological systems cannot respond before stimulus completion. It violates causality. Unit 7 pulsed with intense energy, recalibrating and repeating test sequence with enhanced precision. The second sequence confirmed the initial readings. When presented with complex combinations of subtle stimuli designed to simulate potential threats, Sharma's unconscious systems responded with speeds that rivaled the fastest automated systems on the station. Her conscious mind remained entirely unaware, her verbal reports indicating no perception of the test stimuli. This is unprecedented, Unit 7 transmitted, its energy form flaring with excitement. Human peripheral nervous system and subcortical brain regions are demonstrating reaction times in the microsecond range, approaching quantum-level response speeds when bypassing conscious processing. Zyler's posture had shifted from skepticism to intense scientific interest. How is this possible with chemical synaptic transmission? The physical limitations alone should prevent such speeds. The testing continued for hours, with increasingly sophisticated stimuli and measurements. The results remained consistent. When operating beneath the threshold of conscious awareness, human neurological systems demonstrated reaction capabilities that defied conventional Concordat understanding of biology. Unit 7 compiled the data into a comprehensive report, marking it as a Class 1 anomaly, the highest priority designation for scientific discoveries with potential Concordat-wide implications. The report highlighted the fundamental paradox. Humans possessed some of the slowest conscious processing among sentient species, yet harbored some of the fastest unconscious response capabilities ever documented. The implications were staggering. What the Concordat had dismissed as slowness was only true for a fraction of human neural activity. Beneath the plodding conscious mind lay systems of extraordinary speed and predictive capacity. The report landed like a quantum detonation in the Concordat's Central Scientific Council. Initial responses ranged from outright dismissal to accusations of data manipulation. Senior Cthar scientists insisted the findings must be the result of instrumental error or deliberate human interference. Volanti analysts ran simulation after simulation, struggling to incorporate this new variable into their predictive models. Meanwhile, on the research station, Commander Zyler approached Sharma with uncharacteristic hesitation. "The findings have been illuminating," he admitted, compound eyes studying her with new appreciation, "though they raise more questions than answers." Sharma looked confused. "What findings? I thought we were just calibrating systems." "You truly weren't aware?" Zyler's mandibles clicked in fascination. "Your body was responding to stimuli before your conscious mind could perceive them, before our sensors could even fully register them." "That's just reflex," Sharma shrugged. "Basic human physiology." "No," Zyler corrected. "What you call just reflex is, by our measurements, one of the fastest biological response systems ever documented in the Concordat." The Concordat Scientific Council requested further explanation, and soon Dr. Aristhorn, a human xenoneurologist, arrived at the station. Unlike most Concordat specialists who approach biology from a perspective of optimized design, Thorne's expertise was in the Messier realm of evolutionary neurobiology. Before the assembled scientific delegation, Dr. Thorne presented humanity's perspective on what the Concordat had discovered. "What you've measured isn't a technological achievement, but the result of millions of years of evolutionary pressure," Thorne explained, gesturing to anatomical displays of the human nervous system. "Humans evolved as both predators and prey on a dangerous world. We didn't have the luxury of evolving specialized neural architectures from scratch." The holographic display shifted to show comparative brain structures across species. "Conscious thought is indeed slow. It's a sophisticated, energy-intensive process that evolved relatively recently. But beneath it lies far older systems, what we call the limbic and reptilian brain components. These systems evolved for immediate survival, not complex cognition." Dr. Thorne highlighted the amygdala, brainstem, and spinal reflexes in the display. "These structures don't think in the way you understand thought. They react. They predict. They operate largely outside conscious awareness, processing environmental data constantly and triggering responses before the conscious mind has even received the information." A Cthar scientist interjected, compound eyes flashing with skepticism. "But chemical synaptic transmission is physically limited by ion channel kinetics. The speeds recorded are theoretically impossible." Thorne nodded. "That would be true if the system required complete synaptic transmission before response. But human reflexes don't work that way. Our threat detection systems operate on probability and prediction, not just reaction. The body begins responding to a probable threat based on the earliest, most minimal sensory inputs, often before full sensory processing occurs." The display shifted to temporal diagrams of neural firing. "What you've measured as a reaction isn't the complete sensory processing response cycle. It's the initiation of a predictive response based on partial information. Our bodies begin reacting to likely threats before we're consciously aware of them. It's a biological early warning system, honed by predator-prey dynamics." The Volanti representatives pulsed with intense interest, their energy forms shifting through spectra that indicated deep computational processes. "This suggests a form of temporal processing similar to our own predictive algorithms, but implemented in biological substrate, one transmitted." "Precisely," Thorne confirmed. "But whereas your species evolved toward perfect prediction through computational means, humans evolved good enough prediction through extremely fast, unconscious processing. We don't need to perfectly predict the future. We just need to respond to danger milliseconds before it fully materializes." To demonstrate the practical implications of this discovery, the station prepared a special demonstration. Lieutenant Sharma was placed in a simulation chamber with a swarm of micro-drones programmed with Cthar attack patterns. Unlike standard simulators, this one bypassed conscious interface, connecting directly to subliminal sensory inputs, triggering the same unconscious systems that Unit 7 had measured. The observers watched in astonishment as Sharma navigated through the swarm with uncanny precision, avoiding attacks that even the Kthar acknowledged were designed to be unavoidable. Her movements weren't the calculated, precise actions of Kthar combat specialists, but fluid, almost dance-like responses that seemed to anticipate the drone's movements before they occurred. "She isn't thinking her way through this," Dr. Thorne explained as the demonstration continued. "Her conscious mind is merely along for the ride. What you're seeing is a threat response system millions of years old, operating beneath awareness." Commander Zyler's compound eyes never left the display. "This challenges everything we understood about human capabilities," he clicked softly. "We have been measuring the wrong variables entirely." The implications rippled through the Concordat in the following months. The official classification of humans was formally amended. No longer categorized merely as slow conscious processors, humans were recognized as possessing a dual-natured neurological system, deliberate conscious thought layered over reflexive systems of unprecedented speed. Military strategists from multiple species began developing new protocols to incorporate this unique human capability. Vessel interfaces were redesigned to better leverage unconscious human responses alongside conscious decision-making. Human crews became highly sought after for roles involving unpredictable environments and rapid response scenarios, their previously underestimated abilities now recognized as valuable assets. Lieutenant Anya Sharma, whose ordinary test scores had once been deemed merely adequate, became one of the Concordat's most celebrated test pilots, her ability to navigate spatial distortions unmatched by even the most advanced. Automated systems. Not everyone embraced these discoveries with enthusiasm. Some Kthar hardliners viewed the revelation of human capabilities as a potential threat, arguing that an unpredictable species with microsecond reflexes posed inherent security risks. Certain Volantai analysts struggled to incorporate the apparent acausality of human predictive responses into their meticulously constructed worldview. Yet the evidence was undeniable. The species that had been dismissed as slow harbored reaction capabilities that, in specific contexts, exceeded even the most advanced biological and technological systems in the Concordat. 6 months after the initial discovery, Commander Zyler requested a private meeting with Sharma and Dr. Thorne. The Kthar's posture was formal, his normally rapid movements deliberately slowed, as if in acknowledgement of a new understanding. "I wish to officially correct my previous assessment," Zyler stated, his normally chittering speech carefully modulated. "My evaluation of human capabilities was fundamentally flawed due to inappropriate measurement parameters." Sharma smiled. "No offense taken, Commander. We didn't fully understand it ourselves until your tests quantified it. Humans have always described these experiences, gut feelings, instincts, reflexes, but we lack the precision to measure what was actually happening." "It is curious," Zyler observed, "that your species evolved a conscious mind that remains largely unaware of your most impressive capability." Dr. Thorne nodded thoughtfully. "Consciousness is expensive, metabolically speaking. It evolved to handle complex problems over longer time frames, not immediate threats. Keeping these systems separate was actually more efficient than trying to make consciousness itself faster. Your species contains contradictions that our linear models failed to predict," Zyler admitted. "Perhaps this is why humans approach problems differently. You exist in 2 temporal frameworks simultaneously, the slow realm of conscious thought and the ultra-fast realm of unconscious response." As the research station continued its study of the spatial anomaly, the newly recalibrated team found their complementary capabilities created unprecedented synergies. The Kthar provided precision and conscious processing speed. The Volantai contributed predictive algorithms and multidimensional awareness. And humans, once the perceived weak link, offered something unexpected, a biological system that could react to the unpredictable at speeds that defied conventional understanding. The true test came 3 weeks later, when a spatial anomaly suddenly destabilized, creating a cascading gravitational wave that threatened to tear the station apart. Automated systems failed to respond quickly enough as space-time itself warped around them. The Volanti predictive models faltered in the face of quantum uncertainty. Lieutenant Sharma was piloting the emergency stabilizer when it happened. Before alarms sounded, before sensors registered the full threat, before conscious awareness could form, her hands moved. Station logs would later record a reflexive system adjustment, occurring 0.005 milliseconds after the first submolecular indicators of distortion, a response time previously thought impossible for biological entities. That single adjustment, made before conscious thought could form, saved the station and everyone aboard it. The human who had once been deemed too slow for critical operations had responded faster than the most advanced systems in the Concordat. As the emergency subsided and the station stabilized, Commander Zeiler approached Sharma in the control center. Around them, crew members of a dozen species worked to secure systems and assess damage. "You weren't thinking when you made that adjustment," he stated. Not a question, but an observation. Sharma shook her head. "No, I just moved. I felt something was wrong before I knew what it was." "What you call just moved is what saved this station," Zeiler replied, mandibles clicking softly in what Sharma had come to recognize as respect. "Your conscious mind may be slow by our standards, Lieutenant Sharma, but what lies beneath it is anything but." Across the Concordat, the understanding of humanity was being rewritten. The species once dismissed as biological underperformers were revealed to possess a dual nature: methodical, plodding conscious thought paired with a subliminal reactive system of stunning speed and predictive power. The term human slow vanished from Concordat technical vernacular, replaced by a new designation that acknowledged the paradox at the heart of human neurology: dual temporal processors. Behind this clinical terminology lay a profound shift in perspective, a recognition that evolution had taken these strange, contradictory creatures down a path that none of the Concordats' more advanced species had traveled. Humanity's place in the galactic community was secured not despite their unique neurology, but because of it. The species that thought too slowly had proven they could respond too quickly for even the most advanced sensors to fully capture. A reminder that across the vast diversity of the cosmos, evolution finds solutions in unexpected places, and appearances can be most deceiving. As Dr. Thorne had explained to the still astonished Scientific Council, consciousness itself is the bottleneck. By the time you're aware of danger, your body has already begun responding to it. What you perceive as the present is already microseconds in the past. Humans don't live only in the slow world of conscious thought. We simultaneously exist in an ultra-fast realm of response and prediction that operates just below the surface of awareness. In that statement lay the final irony. The very slowness of human consciousness had hidden their greatest speed from both themselves and the galaxy at large, until someone thought to measure what happens in the shadows beneath awareness.